Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central today with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. And we've got a special treat for you this month. We're focused on Juneteenth all month. But we're not just focused on what happened in Galveston, Texas, what happened in the USA, or what even happened in the Americas. We're looking at the whole ball of wax. And so we're doing this week, we've been comparing the struggles of the peoples of South Africa to our struggles over here. And so we're going to continue with the story of Winnie Mandela, the widow of Nelson Mandela, and who is now passed on as of 2018. But we're going to be focused on her life for at least the rest of the week, sometime into next week probably. Okay, so we're just gonna try to get a little taste, a little tasty taste of what it was like for her all those years when she was separated from her husband. What kind of things, what kind of struggles she had to go through, what kind of trials and tribulations she was going through, quote unquote, on the outside while he was on the inside, because truth be told, she was right there on the inside with him the whole time. Right, at least in spirit, if not physically. So, proverb for today, simple proverb: if the heart is sad, tears will flow. If the heart is sad, tears will flow. That's our proverb for today. And let's see here. If the heart is sad, tears will flow. And of course, you know where that proverb is from. Where else would it be from but Ethiopia? All right, and then we're going to pick up our story where we left off, reading about Winnie Mandela as she is banned, living the life of a banned person. What does it mean to be banned? That means that's like putting you in solitary confinement, but you're not. It makes you like a leper without the colony. Because at least in a leper colony, you could congregate with other lepers. But in this case, Winnie Mandela had to do it all by herself. No one was allowed in or out. No one was allowed to see her without the permission of the colonial government. No one was allowed to talk to her without permission of the colonial government. No one was allowed to have any real contact with Winnie Mandela for the entire time that she was banned. And I don't know what that entire time period consisted of, but I do know it amounted to years. Okay, years as a banned person. They also could not quote her, couldn't show any photos of her. She couldn't be in any kind of what do you call it? Organization that does any publishing or printing. So it was a total ban, as if she did not exist anymore. But we all know that she did. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to start at the top of this page and just keep going from here. So, social life. She's living in a place called Brantford. Okay, or Brantford. And she says, because this is Well, this is actually, this introduction is by someone else who, I still haven't found the name of this person who wrote the introduction. This is quite odd. They usually tell you who wrote the introduction right at the end of the introduction, but this one doesn't tell us that. But the person who's writing it says that social life in Brantford is not particularly varied. That, in other words, you live a pretty dull existence, the same old, every single day. People meet each Sunday in church and make arrangements for a game of golf or a barbecue in the garden, the traditional bravlace. There's no shortage of steaks. Once a year, everyone takes part in the one and only important social event, the games in the school hall. There's little danger of new, let alone liberal ideas spreading in this sort of climate. In the whole of Brantford, only 3 copies of the liberal English Rond Daily Mail, now defunct, were sold each day. 3 copies, that's it. The supermarket opened a few years ago, has managed to survive a drive-in cinema, which tried its luck in the area, had to be closed due to lack of customers, I take it. A sleepy rural retreat, if ever there was one, until 1977 when Winnie Mandela arrived. To this Afrikaner community full of memories of a golden past, post offices with separate entrances for blacks and whites. Okay, this is not gonna work. Hold on one second here. Thank you. All right, that was gonna drive me crazy like a strobe light coming down on me. For blacks and whites, pavements which immediately emptied of black people when a white person came into sight. The government had banished the woman who symbolizes the black struggle for liberation. Doubtless, they hoped that here her spirit of resistance would be broken, and that far removed from the centers of political tension in South Africa, she would gradually be forgotten. Or could the opposite happen? Was it possible that this remote town way out in the Orange Free State might be roused from its idyllic peace and quiet by the mere presence of this extraordinary woman? That woman, the people in Brantford say when they talk about Winnie Mandela, and it sounds like a propitiation, as if the evil spirit could be kept at bay as long as they do not call it by its proper name. Think about that. I invaded the kingdom of the Afrikaners like a whirlwind, Winnie Mandela laughs, and now they live in fear here in Brantford. I met Winnie Mandela for the first time on the Voortrekker Road in a tiny room in the office of her lawyer at that time, Piet de Waal. Go to de Waal and ask him to send a message to Winnie Mandela in the township, telling her that you are waiting to see her in Brantford. This was what friends had advised me to do. Whites are still not allowed to enter the township, that's where the black folks live, without a permit from the magistrate. And if the reason given for applying for such a permit is to visit Winnie Mandela, the answer is usually, I don't think so. I noticed a slight tension, a slight embarrassment when I turned up unexpectedly in the lawyer's office, but my request was complied with immediately. How well I remember the bare, narrow room in which I waited, and my growing nervousness when the messenger sent to Winnie Mandela had not returned 2 hours later. Would she come in time? Would she come at all? Would we be able to talk in peace in this busy office atmosphere? After all, I had not come for a simple interview. I was not looking for a few basic facts and figures. I wanted to ask Winnie Mandela, the woman, the mother, the political fighter, what gave her the strength to bear what she had borne, living under a ban for the greater part of her adult life, with countless arrests, imprisonment shortly after her marriage, while expecting her first child, constant surveillance for the last 22 years, has consisted of nothing but censored letters, casual glances, and brief conversations through the glass partition in the visitors' rooms of prisons under the watchful eyes of prison officers, separation from her husband and often from her children, family, and friends as well. She eventually arrived and stood in the doorway, very upright, full of spirit and infectious vitality. She had none of the outward signs of authority, but I sensed a very compelling personality. She wore a long black and green dress and a scarf draped around her head according to Osa tradition. Her clear and remarkably expressive face was a perfect mirror of the quick succession of her feelings. Her features were aristocratic, high cheekbones and very big, dark, inquisitive eyes, which seemed to express a most fascinating mix of contradictory feelings, quiet sorrow, pain, and at the same time unrestrained cheerfulness, ironic detachment, and impish humor. It was this tension between the contradictions within her which fascinated me. Immediately, this closeness of laughter and sorrow, this obvious love of beauty, even though she had been through all the prison routine of interrogation and torture, and had long given up all claims to a life of personal happiness. With her open, welcoming smile, she brushed aside all traces of strangeness and embarrassment between us, accepted the greetings and small presents I had brought from her friends with spontaneous joy and pleasure, and inquired enthusiastically about particular friends and acquaintances, always insisting on a detailed answer, for this was one of the few ways she could keep in touch with them. I will never forget this conversation. A strange intensity made us skip all the intermediary phases of getting to know each other, and we touched on some of the vital issues of her life and her experience. Were there not times when she lost all hope and courage, when she felt nothing but resignation and despair? Her first answer came quickly, with an angry glance. Of course not. How can I lose hope when I know that in truth this country is ours and that we'll get it back? I know that all this is something I must bear in order to reach that goal. But then she felt silent, and her silence told of the forces against which she must fight continually. And in a husky tone, her voice is usually clear and melodious, she added, I am too small in this enormous liberation machine. Blacks are dying every day in this cause. Who am I to contribute my little life? The case before us is too great for me to even be thinking of what happens to me personally. In these moments of silence, I learned perhaps more than from what she actually said. I got a glimpse of what lay behind her ready laugh, her warm and open manner. I felt very near to her and decided to return and get to know her better. On my way back, her words echoed in my mind, and I tried to imagine what her life was like. A life regulated by a decree from the Ministry of Justice, beginning with these words: whereas I, James Thomas Kruger, Minister of Justice, am satisfied that you engage in activities which endanger or are calculated to endanger the maintenance of public order, I hereby, in terms of Section 9(1) of the Internal Security Act 1950, prohibit you, da 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 da. There follows a long list of all the regulations and restrictions which make up her life. She is not allowed to attend a school or a university, to visit a factory or even a nursery, to enter premises where any kind of publication is being prepared or produced, or where a public gathering might be in progress. She is not allowed to address public meetings, to be with more than one person at a time. It is illegal for anyone in South Africa to quote anything that she says. She told me with a laugh that she left the papers on the desk of the police officer when she was sent to Brantford. But even if she herself tries to ignore the restrictions, the security police in Brantford watch over her and see to it that the rules and regulations are adhered to the letter. I went to see Winnie Mandela many times after our first meeting. I always drove through White Brantford without stopping. A few hundred yards outside, the surfaced road stops and becomes a dusty, bumpy track, winding slightly uphill to the boundary between Brantford and the Black Ghetto, which has no official name. Fatakale, it is called by the inhabitants, to be handled with care. I had several meetings with Winnie Mandela at this boundary line. It is not marked by any fence, but whites are not allowed to cross it without a permit. Just an imaginary line across the road leading into the township. From it, you can see the whole ghetto. Almost 1,000 houses, little grayish yellow boxes, one exactly like the other, in monotonous rows. Dusty mud roads with no lighting, no tarmac, no names, one shop, one school, one beer hall. That's it. After torrential rainstorms, the roads become impassable. Every evening, the township disappears under a screen of smoke from open fires and sooty paraffin lamps. It is a typical black location for workers, uniform and anonymous, like White Brantford itself. The building which houses the Bantu administration dominates the scene. It is close to the imaginary line at the entrance to the township. Life in the ghetto is controlled from here, and no one, whether visitor or inhabitant, passes through unnoticed. I quite often waited for Winnie Mandela here. She was often late. Sometimes she came in an old VW, sometimes on foot, sometimes alone, often in the company of two young men, friends of the family from Soweto, with a few youngsters from the township keeping a respectful distance. My bodyguards, she would say. The words also contain an ironic hint that what her status would be in a quote-unquote normal South Africa, a South Africa without apartheid, with Nelson Mandela in his rightful position as the blacks' chosen leader. And indeed, when she stood there on the dusty township road, very straight and very beautiful, wearing either a traditional Xhosa robe or European dress with an air of natural elegance, when she calmly ignored the Bantu administration officers and came to sit in my car with 3 people at a time under their very eyes, even though this is prohibited in terms of her banning order, she was more like a brilliant ambassadoress representing her country than the banned inmate of a ghetto in the back of beyond. Now that's not the end of the chapter. There's a page and a half left, but we will save that for tomorrow because that makes for an excellent break. We'll just end right there. As a matter of fact, I like the way it ended with the like a brilliant ambassadress representing her country than the banned inmate of a ghetto in the back of beyond, because that has I've never been to Jamaica, but quote unquote, it brings up memories, visions of Jamaica in the back of Beyond, imprisoned in a ghetto. Sounds something like the Dungle that we hear about from in Kingston, Jamaica. Sounds like Trench Town, sounds like Compton, sounds like Watts, sounds like Huff, sounds like Harlem, sounds like a lot of places that black people live. Imprisoned in a quote unquote ghetto. Nothing but an invisible line drawing a distinction between where you can be and where you can't be, where you should be, where you shouldn't be, where if you have just put yourself in danger of being swept up in a stop and frisk operation, like in New York City under Mayor Rudolph Giuliani. Rudolph with the red nose, always lighting the way for somebody else who shall remain nameless but not blameless, even though they're somewhat lameless, or we'll just say lame. Well, at any rate, I didn't want to get into a political diatribe, but reading her story does bring up visions, memories, and it does bring up some ideas about life in America compared to life in other parts of the world, particularly South Africa in this case. So we're going to end our story here, but we will continue on tomorrow. So look for us tomorrow. Same time, same place. And of course, we'll be back tonight at 9. So look for us then as we continue to read our story. And as we continue to read Althea Gibson's story, another strong black woman who has something to say about her life in the USA. Until then, peace out without a doubt. Of course, with justice, because anything less disgusts us. Don't forget to give us a like if you're watching on Facebook, a thumbs up if you're watching on the tube, and even more importantly, we are looking for 1,000 sustaining members. That's what we want to build. We want to build a group of 1,000 sustaining members who are willing to contribute $5 a month. $5 a month for the period of a year. That's our campaign for the rest of the year, is to reach that level where we have 1,000 members donating, sustaining members donating $5 a month for the rest of the year. How can you become a sustaining member? Simply go to our website, blakfacts.org. Click the donate button in the right-hand corner. If you're on Facebook and you're on your phone, go to your notifications and look on the drop-down list. You'll find a link over there. If you're on your laptop on Facebook or your desktop, go ahead and look below this live stream and you'll find a link down there. And on either way you're viewing us, you can always go to Facebook and click our profile picture as long as it's got coins next to it. That will take you to a donate button there. So there I've given you 4 different ways to become a sustaining member of the Black Facts family. That's what we need so we can continue to tell you more and more and then some, because we have stories galore. What you're experiencing now is merely the tip of the iceberg. We do know where the bodies are buried, and we want to expose them so that, because without exposure, we cannot have closure. And we need to have some closure so we can move forward ever, never backwards. Peace out without a doubt. Look for us tonight at 9. This is Doc Ock signing off.